How many of you visit the library? You don't have a card also. Do you have? That means that you're not taking full advantage of the university system. April till now, it's happening.
Yes, sir, because we were the late ones, so when we went for the library card, so it was you have to go to the College Street campus to get an access for the library.
Yes, that's it. We do it from Central Library. We also do.
Previously, the facility was open here also for making the cards and all the formalities. We stopped that. And now we have to go.
It's centralized. It's very easy. Just go to Central Library. You need to take a challan, you all those things, take it to the government office, and then you need to take the product. It's done very, very quickly. It's not a very big exercise.
Sir?
Sure. What LET math, I started LET math one, that is paper 7, because this is immediately important. I need to finish this thing as quickly as possible, maybe in 1.5 hours lecture. Try to grasp as much as possible. I have got these reading materials, 2 of them. You just digest these 2. Whatever is written, just digest it. Because internal assessments, questions will be based on these materials. And these are not extensive. These are just articles written by some scholars on the changing trends in globalization. We have met online, right? Once.
Yes.
How many of you were there for the online classes? So only this many, but then on that day when we online, I was only the number of people, it came to about near about 60 or something. So how many people were just there on mobile and not attending the class? How many of you had political science before this? English college? Christian college. Okay, so Mona Lisa and Shushmita here.
That's a Indian college.
Jeffrey college. Sociology, geography, history. So that means that we are doing an area studies with an in-depth experience of history. But area studies requires that you have a sense of geography, sense of political science, a very strong sense of political science and sociology. Otherwise, the area that you study will remain largely just a historical detail. So it will be a chronological order of things that you study minus the Anthropocene. And given that this is a part and parcel of a discipline which engages out and out with human interface, that is the Anthropocenic activity, political activity, we need to have a grasp of politics and sociology. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to understand the underlying nuances of things that we are talking about. I'm trying to locate, ma'am had sent me a message. Okay, yes. She says, for internal assessment, you need to finish by Tuesday so that your exams can be scheduled. When is your internal exams, assessment exams for paper 7 scheduled there?
So we don't have any specific dates for that. So
That means, then you will get some time and then okay. So fine. That means that you have time to read this thing for a week or so. there are two units which I'm supposed to teach. Even though she said that pick and choose, but then I'll not pick and choose, I'll teach you. And I'll try to finish it as quickly as possible. I'll start with paper 7, unit 2, growth of new civil society. Growth of new civil society. This is unit 2. Time is 1 o'clock now, 1:05. So I'll try and finish this in about 14 minutes. Now, the 3 points out here. One is new. Then there is something called civil and there is something called society. What do you understand by civil?
The intellectual class maybe. Is there a
Civil is intellectual class. Nagori. Nagori. Civil is any other? So does civil means rules and regulations or people? People. Civil means it comes to civil. Then what about rules and regulations? Niyam Khan, Sajjada Nagari ke thode plastic that I use. How many of you drive cars? Have you met with an accident? Or has the cop or the traffic caught you for breaking a signal? What kind of case was registered against you?
For breaking a signal, for not abiding by breaking
Yeah,
a
and
signal.
where did you go and do the payments of challan or do your reporting?
Online.
You did it online, okay, fine. When you did it online, in the portal of the website, was it written civil or whether it was written criminal? Civil. That means that whenever we're looking at things, life is kept, or political life is kept in the binarized, complex categories of civil and criminal. Criminal is something wherein you will be getting some kind of punitive punishment. It is jailable, it's an offense because it's an offense of grave nature. Civil is more to do with everyday life of people. It need not be something very, very big an amount or bigger thing as such. So civil requires the existence of people, law, and the binding nature, obligation. So this lady broke the law and she did not recognize or do the obligation towards traffic rules, so she was asked to pay a fine. Isn't it? So that is the system. Now, what do you understand by society? What is society?
Trauma.
Okay, so I'm very easy.
So a social framework.
The interaction of people. Okay.
Interaction as well as involvement.
But sir, একটা নিয়মও হতে পারে যে নিয়মবদ্ধ হয়ে মানুষ বসবাস করে একসাথে।
So society again, society is a very big term. In sociology and in anthropology, we look at society as something living. It's always organic, it's growing. It's not something fixed. So when we say that for Indian society, it's technically incorrect to use that term because there can be no Indian society. Rather, there can be Indian societies because there are multiple. It's plural. Hold on. Hello? I'm not really good. I don't know what's happening. So, in society, it's more growing. Society is alive. Society is made by human. It's made by interface. And in this particular topic, we are looking at civil society. So, what exactly is this civil society? In the 1960s and 70s, one of the thinkers, Jürgen Habermas, came forward with this conceptualization of a civil society. And it was again also linked to neo-Marxian kind of ideas of Gramsci, wherein we are trying to look at civil society as a society which is a part of society, but it's also different. In the sense that it's more of an intellectual base, it is somewhere wherein we do some kind of thinking regarding a particular topic or issues which are related with that given society. Numerous examples have been given as to what can be a civil society. Many say that civil society is institutionalized. No, civil society cannot be institutionalized. Because the moment you say that this is हमारी ये बड़ी civil society है, हमारी ये बड़ी civil society है, इनका office यहाँ है. The moment you say civil society's office is यहाँ में है, civil society to a large extent becomes institution or association. Civil societies are a little different from institutions and associations. For example, according to Jürgen Habermas, civil society can be a group of people talking about, let's say, carbon footprints on Earth, or a group of people talking about corruption in a particular cafeteria. They meet in a cafe, they discuss, they meet in the canteen of the university. They can be students, they can be housewives, they can be anybody, or they can be a group of all associations. They could be members of larger associations coming out of that association and talking on an everyday basis. It also could be a family or a larger extended group of people talking or debating on issues which are directly linked with a given society. So in a way, civil society is the chintan which is allowed or given a space in a particular society depending upon the political ideology that exists. Suppose there is a political ideology which doesn't allow that kind of debating or that kind of articulation, then you cannot have a civil society. So a civil society talks about larger issues concerning a particular society. Now, Gramsci's idea on civilness and Habermas's ideas on civilness differed a little bit. But we'll not go to that difference because that is not important for us. What is important for us is we're looking at new civil society. What are these new civil society? Because the topic which is given to us is 1990 to 2015. If you look at your topic, paper 7, then paper 7's title is Post-Colonial History to 1990 to 2015. Isn't it? That means मुझे 1980 में क्या हुआ है, 1970 में क्या हुआ है, it is not a part of my topic. So I don't need to teach that. For me, it's easier. I'm teaching you something of the internet age. So this new civil society, thank God and lucky me, is internet age. So we are looking at new civil society in the virtual platform. And this virtualization of the civil society is very much a part or a thing that you have grown up with. Since when have you been using internet? when was it?
2015.
2015. Or 1998, you must be born in 2000. You were born in.
2000, yes.
No, because each year we teach you, the rates always go a little bit because every year the students become younger. No? So, thank God it's like age that we're dealing with. I don't need to teach Chipko movement and all those things. You know? These are better topics which I don't like at all. Because those are so old topics, it can be undone also. We have read it so much. Those are Chipko movement, environmental movement, coal movement, movement for corruption, movement for smaller states, autonomy, tribal movement, women's movement, human rights movement, and, all those movements that we have had is part of civil society movement. But this newness directs us to the 1990s. 1990s to 2022. Till that. So now, when we look at civil society movements, how is the Andolan working? Whether you're talking of the Andolan as the students' movement from what was it?
Hope Colorado.
So that kind of movement, how did it invest itself? What kind of elements did it embark on? What kind of ideas did it get influenced by? Well, it got influenced by other hashtag movements which operated during that time. And one of the hashtag movements which predated that was the Arab Spring movements, 2010, 2009 and 2010. Arab Spring movement. If you remember Arab Spring movement, yes, no.
স্যার লিবিয়া তারপর লিবিয়াতে হয়েছিল মুয়াম্মার গাদ্দাফির পতন
Yes. So you had endless number of those movements which came up after that. Not just in Libya, but also in other parts of Arabia. So it was, and then you also had, movements which were directly linked with, democracy and new democracy and other institutional mechanisms in Greece. Then you had sexuality movements or movement against sexual harassment done in the form of Me Too movement. Remember Me Too? Everybody wore Me Too, without understanding who is this thing.
So recently we have Black Lives Matter.
Yes, after Floyd. So these kind of movements that we have, these are actually what we are referred to as the new civil society movements in an age of internet, or it's otherwise also referred to as virtualization of civil society movements. But who exactly operates, like for example, the hijab movement, which happened very recently, or the Andolan which is going now, making a celebrity out of Nupusha. She's just a pravakta. Nobody knows her. She's a no-name entity. Nobody knows her. She comes in few English channels don't bring her. And they ask her, like all pravaktas. Every political party has got pravaktas, and it's not one pravakta that they have. And the TMC would have not gotten 15 pravaktas, who would go to different channels and talk, because one person cannot go everywhere. Likewise, the Congress has got endless number of speakers or spokespersons. So Nupur Sharma was just one of them. But today, I was just coming from, I was in a cab and I was just crossing this flyover from my office. And I just realized that, they have made her a category Z leader. From a Pravakta to category Z, Andolans make people out of that. So, and that is how the genesis of movements come to us today. We don't know who's operating it. We don't know who's making it. Who's the mind behind it? In some case, like in CID or other kind of programs that you have on television, all this crime patrol and all. Inka Shakti Dimag is Yeta. They won't identify the Shakti Dimag. We don't have that Shakti Dimag. You cannot identify because it is nameless. It is faceless. Basically, it's an internet mediated kind of idea which comes up. And along with this internet age new civil society movements, you also have an endless use of technology, which comes to you and me on an everyday basis in the form of what appears in your WhatsApp messages as news. Because WhatsApp gives you news. It gives you humor, it gives you political humor, it gives you satire. It gives you all kinds of ideas. Like for example, and these are things which are also referred to as memes. Memes, isn't it? So memes are not independent of the political environment in which they are generated. Memes like cartoons, but cartoons are different. When I say a cartoon, a newspaper ka cartoon, I have made it, if I say. There is a particular person who's made that cartoon. But memes made, you don't have that. Who has made it? If you want to find out also, you will go to Reddit and other kind of websites, try to find it, but you'll not get any information. Basically, until unless somebody says, I have made it. So it can be Narendra Modi telling, a particular Olympian javelin thrower that javelin thrower is throwing the javelin, and this is Narendra Modi side में चाय पी के बोल रहे हैं. अच्छा है. Greece के ज़माने में मैं भी ऐसा था. You have seen that meme, isn't it?
স্যার নীরাজ
There's a
চোপড়া
series.
নীরাজ চোপড়া থ্রো করছিল
Yeah.
তখন বলেছি
Yeah. So there's a series of memes on this. Like anywhere, like somebody is going to the moon and all the astronauts are going, and Modi is already getting there. So that is, a kind of satire and a kind of thing on Modi, because Modi seems to take the credit for many things, like all leaders. And in an age of internet and virtualization of politics and public sphere which is so strong, public sphere is very interchangeable, is so strong that leaders are made by Twitter. Leaders are made by Facebook. Even a comedian can become a national leader. Take the case of Ukraine.
ভ্লাদিমির জেলেনস্কি
So, Zelensky doesn't seem to be having any kind of head, but he has become the power because today what we think is that in an age of democracy, new age democracy, of digital media and digital democracy, we feel that we can elect and select anybody via the swipe of a button in our mobile phones. And we feel that democracy has become like a reality show, wherein you select a particular candidate based on ethnicity, identity, religion, and also empathy. If the singer is blind, if the singer is, comes from, because there are also memes on this, with Indian Idol and all. If you see memes, lots of them. The point, Neha Kakkar, who is one of the judges, she'll ask the first thing, after Garibo, and if they're Garib, then she'll start crying. And she'll start giving a point, up selected. And if they don't look or appear to be poor, then again, that's another kind of joke that circulates and makes a mockery out of poverty or out of being poor or being physically not equal with others or not the same with others. But in this kind of world, wherein we are looking at a world in which we feel that we can be a part and parcel of the world's change. चलो दुनिया बदलते हैं. So because we can be a part of change, it's no longer 1960s, 1970s, 1940s, wherein you want to make political change to the satyagraha or the andolan. You have to leave aside all your ancestral property, the richness of and the niceness of the ambience, and go to the floor in Sabarmati or maybe stay in some Naxalbari movement and do the andolan. No, today you don't need to do anything. Today you have all sides of the world, from the nice quarters of the softness of your bed, just lie there. Your mobile is there, high-speed mobile, 5G connection, lot of data, and you are a part and parcel of the world that will change. And you feel so happy. Tell you that, Amra Kurichi. But then what did you do? You did not do anything. You just swipe. You just press the button and didn't do anything. You didn't even become a part of it. And if the movement fails, then you just keep quiet again, as if you never were a part of it. So in a world where you are a pseudo participant, what happens? Questions are very difficult. There are no fixed answers to this. There's a particular book by Gaurav Desai, Pradesh Publication 2013. In that book, that's referred to as the virtualization of the public sphere. That book has got endless number of articles and chapters dealing with this virtualization of politics. One of the chapters is mine. We can have a look at how ethnic movements try to use virtual spaces to come forward with their use of memes, cartoons, digital space to become part and parcel of this. This is virtualization of the public sphere. by a copy should be there. It's by Gaurav Desai. Otherwise, the chapters which are important, I will try and circulate. Last time what we did was, when they did a chapter on news, civil society and the public sphere, I had given topics which they had used for the interviews. But this year I don't know. I'm trying to explain both topics. This one thing here isn't clear. What a civil society movement is in an age of internet, what is a meme is, and the memes when they operate. Memes how बढ़ के आती हैं, memes organic होती हैं, memes fixed नहीं होती. For example, let's say there is a meme on Narendra Modi telling about the child in the mood. Now after some time, somebody else will change the meme a little bit, and instead of Narendra Modi sitting in the moon, it will become like Narendra Modi on a beach maybe, and they will be like, maybe some celebrity couple is going for their honeymoon after their marriage to a particular, beach destination, and Modi is already there welcoming them. So that kind of thing, it keeps changing. You also have memes on Mamta Banerjee, endless numbers. And
And
also,
the memes, they also become a symbol, like
yes, they also become a symbol. Like, for example, in Uncle Sam for America, the hat and all. Because the meme takes, and memes are not something which are very new. Memes have been there as long as the internet is in existence. But the kind of memes that we have now is more sophisticated because it's visualized. It's no longer a static picture. It can be a video also. For example, memes have been made of Will Smith slapping somebody, isn't it? Or so many. It's like endless number of lists, or you can have Rajnikant memes also. Endless.
So we have Rahul Gandhi talking to this.
Yes, with all kind of dumb questions. So in the case of political leaders, it is also true that memes can be very harmful to their own public image. But memes are memes. They have got a sense of humor. You have to have a very strong sense of humor. You cannot be angry on it. You cannot say that, "Arey mera meme banaya hai, so change karo." Pakdo isko. No, you cannot do that.
There are some cases
Sir, just like Munar Padu.
Sir, Munar Farid.
But then that is a meme actually. That is a stand-up comedy. That is different. Like same case with Nupur Sharma. It's a statement made by a person individual. Nupur Sharma now says that she's sorry about it, but nothing much can be done because these are video recorded and it has become viral. Damage has been done. So same with for his case. He's a stand-up comedian, and comedians love to make jokes out of political situations. But it's also true that certain issues like religion, food, one's ethnicity, appearance, body shaming, these are things which in today's age of internet we have become more and more sensitive about. But isn't it really strange that democracy, liberalization is supposed to make you have this sense of humor and have this sense of foregoing. But today people have become more and more whimsical about their skills, especially celebrities. Because you know that once you want to be a celebrity, you have already sacrificed your private life. There is nothing called private. Every moment, every movement, you live in public. So, all the years of your struggle, you want to be a hero or a heroine. Once you're a hero or a heroine, then you don't want the paparazzi to come and take your photograph. You will wear dark shades even at 2 o'clock in the morning. And for what? I don't know. Even in the darkest of places you're with, Kala Chashma. Just because Kala Chashma is a popular song, it doesn't mean you wear it in and out, But they do. All our celebrities come in same format. And sometimes I find that this bekar ka nakhra paana. Because nobody wants to take their photograph, so let's become important. Let's go to the airport wearing the weirdest of clothes. maybe a safety pin wala cloth. Jafri, for instance. I don't know why she collects her clothes. Jafri, for instance, she collects that clothes. who can come and make
Sanitary
it?
jama
Who defines? I don't know. But it is of course. And then she'll wear a dark shade, glass. 2-3 people here will say, "नहीं photo मत लीजिए, photo मत लीजिए." And the best part is, जो photo ले रहे थे, they were part of our entourage. आप ही की टीम के, आप ही के photographs, आप ही के photo ले रहे हैं और किसी के नहीं ले रहे. I mean, what a divine coincidence. You're traveling to, let's say, Timbuktu. Airport में you get paparazzi who knows you also. And then you say that don't take हमारी photo नहीं, no photo, no photo. And then they come up with their more sensitive is their baby's photo. हम क्या करेंगे बच्चे के photo से? It's like they'll take the photo and they say बच्चे का photo नहीं है. I mean, it's like क्या? And in fact, dominate each other's hearts.
Virat Kohli and
They do that, isn't it? So in a world where we are living in paradoxes, that we want something to appear like this rather than what it really means, it's very difficult to decipher what exactly is the intention of our political message or our social message in social media. But I've given you a very overwhelmingly, large, bird's eye view of civil society, internet, and how it operates. And the space where this meme operates is referred to by a technical term, memescape. Memescape refers to the organic space in which the memes evolve with themselves. And they become different in different situations. In a different context, they would be contextualized, kahin jod karke, kahin add karke. And it's not necessary that memes have a shelf life. Memes have a shelf life, but they have a tendency to reappear in a different context in different ecosystems. For example, Rahul Gandhi talking about sending potatoes and bringing gold from once. Yeah. This statement could come as the pun line or the punchline for any other humorous or comedy-based kind of clippings in the future.
So it happened there was this milkshake or Astoria where they had made a funny caricature of Rahul Gandhi. Okay. So there is this famous meme of he saying Khatam, Tata, bye. So that was the caricature where that line was used and there was a lot of vandalism.
So that's how memes they tend to have an afterlife in that sense. Afterlife in the sense that we feel that meme एक महीना का मीम वायरल हो खत्म हो गया. But then there is an afterlife. Suppose there is what it means by afterlife. Those of us who have sociology and anthropology will know. Afterlife means like आप मरने के बाद भी दोबारा प्रकट होते हो. Either in the form of a boost or a place or a massage. Some kind of coming back. That self which comes back in the auditorium in the form of a revival of the dead person is referred to as afterlife. And how you make meaning out of that dead person's gone-ness. So this in meme life, also in meme state, it comes back. Can you find the materials for this? I will give it to you. So I'll share it on Google Class. Yeah, make
We made a group. It would be better if you share it in that
WhatsApp group.
Yes.
Okay, fine. I'll share it. So you just read that and you'll be able to understand. But that is not the primary topic. I have selected a primary topic, but then it depends upon man, which is easier, okay? Because I'm just trying to make it convenient that we have two topics. Because if you just complete one and do it one, all of you, let's say 60 people writing on post-globalization, you'll not be able to score points at all. Because the topics have to be different. So if you have two topics like new civil society, age of internet, and if you have post-globalization or neo-globalization as a topic, then you have two options to answer. Till here, any question, any points? No. Because you have lived with it, you all know what we are talking of. Even though the terms such as memescape will be different, because these terminologies are textbook terminologies. We don't use it in our everyday usage. Now let me come to What time is it? 27. So that means that I completed this topic in 40 minutes just as I wanted. So 8 ghanta and certain minute for post-global. Ashok, have you heard the term post-global? Post-globalization?
Sir, after the 1991.
Okay, fine. After 1991, was it post-global?
1990s
Globalization. 1990s introduced globalization to South Asia and Southeast Asia. So why do we refer to it as post-globalization? When did post-globalization occur? And what is the difference between post-globalization and globalization and neo-colonialism? You know neo-colonialism, right? You've heard it. When did you hear it? When did you hear it?
American hegemony.
Okay, and you heard it in your maybe class 11, 12 undergraduate syllabus. So neo-colonialism basically refers to the recolonization of independent countries or countries which were free after the Second World War in the name of development. Very briefly explain that now. Best example is this is unit. Is there anyone in the class who has difficulty with English, who is more comfortable with Bangla? কতজন আছে? যেহেতু তোমরা একদমই মাইনরিটি, তোমরা একটু ডাইজেস্ট করে নাও। আগে আমি শেষ করছি এটা এক্সপেক্ট করো, তারপর আমি একটা চেষ্টা করবো বাংলাতে। কিন্তু তোমরা কি হিন্দি বোঝো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার
Easier. That means that what I'll do right now is English and Hindi become the expedition ek karne ka. Yeah, because time kamti hai, I need to finish it. Okay, exams is like if you have exams given, I need to give you time also to read. See, the expect of your notes being to read. You need at least 5 days to learn something.
স্যার আমাদের
Because this is not the only thing that you do all over. This is only 8 पढ़ के रहना है 5 दिन तक ऐसा तो नहीं ना घर में you will have more work also because there are other topics also where your teachers will give you some assignment.
Yes,
So
sir.
that means that मुश्किल से आधा घंटा मिलेगा इसके लिए. So 5 days means half an hour each content. You have only about 3-4 hours to understand this topic. So given that I don't want to pressurize you, but at the same time it's essential for certain internal exams.
Yes, sir.
And because it has come for internal exams, we would believe that it will not come for final. So topic khatam ho gaya behtar, isn't it? Good like that. So this is neo globalization. It's also referred to as post-globalization. So what exactly is this neo-colonialism? The period is 1940,
এটা আরেকটা টপিক পড়বো না
Second World War.
এটা ইউনিভার্সিটি
What happened after the Second World War? Many countries became free. The empire, otherwise referred to as the Raj, British Raj, fell apart. Dominance and spaces which were controlled by them, like India, became new territoriality. They became a reality in terms of an independent space. Nehru gave the much popular statement on a particular midnight, and the speech is today known as Tristan Question. It's a very, very romantic kind of speech which makes you feel that goosebumps each time you listen to it. And Nehru, because Nehru being Nehru, he was a spinner of words. He knew how to play with words. And people who play with words are so smart that what they say seems or appears to be true always, even though there will be fault lines between what they say. So, in the 1940s, we had this particular phenomena which was referred to by Nkrumah and others as neo-colonialism. Why did they call it neo-colonialism? Because the Second World War made countries free. So most of the African countries became free, most of South Asia became free, subcontinent became free. The world started investing on new countries. But were those new countries able to make themselves really autonomous or sovereign? In economic sense, no. Like for example, if you take the case of India, for development, we were told that अगर ये model इस्तेमाल करोगे, you will become like Soviet development. अगर ये इस्तेमाल करोगे, you become like United States का development. So two kind of blueprints were given to us: Formula 1 and Formula 2. In either cases, we did not take either of the formulas in total. We took 50% of both formulas and created a third variation for ourselves. But given that strategic point of a mid-term approach between the two blocks, which were there in operation in Second World War period, post-Second World War period, Cold War and George, what happened was we in fact became more dependent on certain people in the name of democracy and in the name of development, in the name of economic emancipation. So the moment we took, let's say, a fund or a loan from Soviet Russia, we knew that paisa wapas didn't. So the moment Russia gave us an amount of money, we allowed Russia to operate certain coal mines, certain dams, certain areas. It did not come free, isn't it? Any kind of investment doesn't come free. The moment you take money or some kind of economic help, this is what we refer to as dole dependency. In dole dependency, in the entire dependency theory, we see that this is a new type of colonial regime because we told the white man to go out of our land, but in the absence of the white man's technology, we knew we could not survive. So we had to reintroduce them. So India, for example, again went back to Britain for many of its technological assistance in varieties of spaces, such as airspace, navigation. We also went back to United States for help in terms of navigation. We went back to Soviet Russia for help on varieties of technological assistance. So that going back again is referred to as neocolonialism because we are remaking ourselves colonized in terms of technology, in terms of economic, in terms of thought process, all in the name of becoming developed. But this was 1940s. Now come to 1990s. Globalization became a phenomenon in countries which were otherwise referred to as the developing societies or developing countries. Which were the developing countries? All through the 1950s and 1970s, 1980s. The countries, third world countries, yes. Also known as less developed countries or developing countries or developing societies. In 1990s, when India went in for liberalization, privatization, and a little bit of globalized atmosphere, thanks to the change from its model economy to a model which was more receptive to liberal times. Because by this time, 1990s, 1991, the Cold War is in its decline. It's already ending. One party is always in a state of dyingness. Soviet Russia is in dyingness. It's not totally dead, but it is in a comatose. We know that it's dying. So that kind of perception of the world allowed India and many other developing societies to change their partnership regime and entered into a new kind of strategic connectivity. And that introduced us to globalization, which otherwise is also referred to as a global village. Free market, free choice, and democracy. This period is also referred to as the age of democracy. Why is it referred to as the age of democracy? Because by 1990s, the world is giving a new kind of interpretation that if you want to be a country which is progressive, अगर आप चाहते हो कि आप एक स्थिर स्थायी समाज का विकल्प करें, तो आपको एक डेमोक्रेसी, प्रजातंत्र maintain करना है. You have to bring that in order. Now, with this emphasis on democracy, it also meant that people would have free choice. आपका choice, अधिकार, your rights become very powerfully played. For example, today if you want to go to the market, let's say you want to buy a fan, and what are the options that the fan wala gives? Let's say I'm the fan wala, okay, I'm the salesperson, and I'm told to the salesperson, and this lady has come to buy a fan, and here are two other people who have come to buy it. And I tell her that ये फैन जो है रिमोट कंट्रोल से चलता है, उसमें साउंड नहीं होता है, वो 80% इलेक्ट्रिसिटी खाता है, और ये फैन जो है आपका वाईफाई से चलता है. उसमें आप फैन चलाएंगे तो उसमें लाइट भी चलेगा, उसमें म्यूजिक सिस्टम भी है, और इट्स लाइक वो एलेक्सा के कंट्रोल है. Very high end fan, the one which is not working, but it's a high end fan. And then this is like 2000, that's 4000, this is 50, that is 50,000. So you all want to buy the fan and you all say that नहीं इससे सस्ता नहीं है, and then I tell you हमारी दुकान में इससे सस्ता तो नहीं मिलता, हमारे यहाँ तो 3000 से ऊपर का ही आपको फैन मिलेगा, बाकी के लिए आपको कहीं और करना. So that's how the dukandars tell you each time you ask for a tool, and that's how they project themselves that they are maintaining to a cut above kind of customer. ऐसे गहरे कस्टमर को दुकान में आने नहीं देगा, क्योंकि जिसके पास 3000 नहीं है फैन खरीदने उसके दुकान में नहीं है, तो आप गलत दुकान में आ रहे हैं. They make you that feel. You have seen that in all shops they do that, and the worst product is that they'll not tell you what to choose. They will make you choose. You say that you want to buy that fan, they say that sir ये fan जो है इसका ऐसा है वैसा है, आप इससे तो बेहतर ना आप उसी को लीजिए सर, आपका गेटअप और आपका पर्सनालिटी देख के ना वो फैन मैच. That's also what they tell you, but they never know for which intention did you buy the fan. It could be for suicide also. So for suicide you don't need that 50,000. So it's like what's the intention? What you want to do the fan? It could be with that simultaneous idea that man, it's very similar to plan. Why would you do that? You have to find any other fact if you want to. And people say that suicide is bad and all. Okay, I basically feel as a person, I don't want to put any morality on it. People have a choice. I always give it down to choice. They have a choice. And in Indian society, our freedom of choice is so strong. Have you ever thought that we have not associated any stigma with suicide? If you look at how did Ram die? The god Ram in the epic Ramayana. How did he take the samadhi? He just walked into it. Everybody followed him. Lakshman followed, Bharat followed, everybody.
No, Bharat, Lakshman for the previous two.
Because Lakshman person had died because he's the Shishnak. So Shishnak has to wait out there because it's all a part of the body of the Vishnu. So given that, you would find that even Ram had done what you look at it now, that is suicide. But the Indian text or Indian philosophy did not stigmatize suicide as bad as a kind of death. Because that is there. Indian philosophy is very close with that. And I am working on death presently. And one of my books is coming out on death and dyingness. So that's why I can tell you very strongly that it's a part and parcel. It's a process of being. So we are never serious about it, that it's something bad or something. We know that it's coming or that it's going. And once you come, you will always have an exit. So given that, it's part and parcel. But in this free choice, it will tell you that हमारी दुकान में तो 3000 से नीचे फैन नहीं है, 5000 से आप में है, 50,000 तक का. What kind of choice is this? Or let me give you another instance. You go to a shopping mall, you want to buy a cloth. Let's say you want to buy trousers. For men, it's very difficult nowadays, especially men who are not skinny, or what we call in Bangla as talpata. If you're not that, then you cannot fit in any of the clothes which they have, especially the trousers. I mean, for whom they make it, for what intention, I don't know. I mean, few of the leg, okay, pant ka leg, for size 30, 34 kind of waistline. The leg here is of this size. How do you enter that clothes? And for men also, you see that you have, it's so difficult if you look at men's fashion. Because women's fashion is like, it's like, I have seen, when I was in college at that time, I remember, I was in masters, doing masters. And then me and a friend of mine, we had just gone to this one, Garya. We had to meet someone, so we went there. And then outside Bashanti Devi College, we were waiting out there, we having. Suddenly I hear a group of girls were buying something. And the Dukandar said, hey, he asked that girl, he used a particular term, I forgot. He said, it's a notum dishes. Aage theke pant, it's a Karna Kapoor pant. I was wondering, what is Karna Kapoor pant? And he said, it's a aage theke full pant, pisham theke half pant. Who's going to wear that? I mean, so that is women's fashion. Okay, so you have strange fashions. And sometimes it is that the clothes are cut from here to there. Salwar kameez में straight ही काट लो भाई. But आजकल लड़कों का भी होता है. If you want to buy kurta for guys and all, and nothing seems to be normal. This is the Bhalo ka style. It's like the collar is up, यहाँ से कुछ करके यहाँ से यहाँ बांधते हैं. Like this. But then men's fashion is also becoming like that, obnoxious. And it is like the colors are like, I don't know what to choose. And options are so bad that the free choice which it gives you, it tells you this is jeans and it is like 3,000 rupees, 3,800, the cheapest of them. And it tells you that it's a slim fit with 3% elastic. And you wear the pant and you feel that, what is this? This looks like speed time, and it is like, like the ones which people wear for their aerobics. Not for a regular office. Have you seen aerobics, Yes. Or, any kind of TV, you see aerobics, when they wear very tight spindex, lycra waist. I mean, how will you wear that in Calcutta? But then, so that means that the only option that you have is make your own clothes. Buy your own clothes, make your own clothes. Don't go to that kind of shop because it will not fit you at all. So the free choice that is given is actually a free choice of the Dukandar or the market which is there. And the free choice also keeps changing because there is a end of reason say all that. Every month there is something for no reason. And it tells you that you have to buy something new again. Update. Sometimes someone says, sometimes doing the same. So this free market is actually not so free as it is supposedly told to be. In fact, it is a market which is investing you to buy more and becoming compulsive buyers. Yes. So it is a fetish that is associated with products. It tells you that a month of April means yellow. Who told you month of April is yellow?
You create a fear of losing out.
Yes. And people, and part and parcel of this is that we are so obsessed with the body. And the body has become the center space which is there. And we in India are condensing ourselves or our gaze on the body. Because we want to make the body in a certain glamorized format which comes from the West in the form of what is an ideal body. A size 0 body, a free size body, or XL body. It tells various body shapes, and body shaming goes part and parcel with these kind of systems. Now, what happens with this globalized village? Does the world become a globalized village then? Well, to a certain extent, you can say that Florida में मैं visa खा रहा था उस company का XYZ. I'm having today that at South City Mall XYZ. Same, but is the flavor of the pizza which is there in Florida and in South City Mall the same?
No.
No. Even when it comes to Coca-Cola, Thumbs Up, Pepsi, not the same. What you have in US is a little different with what we have.
কি স্যার আমাদের যে চকলেটটা এরকম তৈরি
Yes.
হয় সেটাও এখানকার ডিফারেন্স বাইরের দেশে ডিফারেন্স
Yes.
বাইরের দেশে বিভিন্ন জীবজন্তুর চর্বি দিয়ে বানানো হয় এখানে যে ডেরিভেটিভটা ইউজ হয় সেটা মাখন জাতীয় কোনো
ঠিকই বলেছেন।
They keep changing.
ঠিক
A
বলেছেন।
lot of changes are there. Every company is different. Plus, in India, when they come, or in South Asia, when they come, or let's say when they go to Southeast Asia, do they comply with environmental norms? No. You have seen the case of Coca-Cola in Kerala, isn't it? Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all these aerated drinks have got strong norms telling that groundwater नहीं लेंगे अपना production in America, and they comply by that. But when it comes to India or other spaces where they are operating as multinational companies or where they operate as transnational companies, they exploit their local resources, groundwater depletion. And in countries like India, third world countries or developing countries like India, we're talking in 1990s parlance of terminology, we don't have that strict norms of environmentalism or protection of resources, etc. So therefore, these companies always seem to have their free stand. And this is for food. Coming to private companies such as banks, Standard Chartered banks, HSBC Bank, all these kind of big banks, again these are multinationals, isn't it? How do they throw out Indians from their jobs? If they do some mistake, if the target is not met, big skip out. In America or other places, they're not able to do that being skip so quickly. But for non-American, non-European people like us, giving us a pink slip becomes very easy because we are just guinea pigs in the system of the capital mode, which is there in operation, thanks to this global village network. Clear, is it clear? Now, this is 1990s, okay? So, from 1990, let's come to 2000. कितना साल हुआ? 10? 2010 कितना हुआ?
20
So this globalization was conceived by everybody as good, very good. It's helping the world to become one. America में जो है यहाँ है, we are becoming all one.
the American hegemony.
So,
Basically,
yes.
it's the American dream.
Yes, this is the American dream, and this is also what is becoming alive because in the 1990s, two important books were written. You already know the names of these books. One is Clash of Civilizations by Samuel B. Huntington, right? And the other is Francis Fukuyama's End of History, Age. Yeah. So this End of History and the other book, Clash of Civilizations. Both these books Americanization or McDonaldization or Fordism, different names है इसका भी. So, but basically it's more or less an American kind of world system of society. So you consume more and more. You eat a lot of things which you don't need. You go to the market, instead of buying half liter, you buy 5 liter, 5 liter, 5 liter. Because the sale is such. The sale tells you that if you take a 5 liter Coca-Cola per dibba, then it gives you 50%. It looks as if it's so good a deal. It tells you that if you take a 4 kilo Surf Excel, then it's this much lesser. So that kind of consumerism, which is so strongly linked with controlling your free choice. You don't want to buy 5 liter, but you end up 5 liter. And it's like, अगर आप 2000 रुपये और खर्च करो, तो साथ में आपको पूजा के लिए एक वाउचर मिलेगा, wherein you can choose anything for 1 rupee, but provided that you have to buy 3 shirts. That means you buy 3 shirts during puja, and the 4th item, which is of your choice, you buy it for 1 rupee. But when you buy that item during puja again, you realize that each of the shirts are 3,000 rupees. So it is 9,000 rupees shirts. And with 1 rupee, you can buy 1 item, which again is not worth 1 rupee also. But you have seen these kind of market strategies, which are there in Big Bazaar, which are there in Spencer's, all these areas, the market. So this was being critiqued a lot, telling that is it not that we are entering into a world where we are making everything American-like? Is it not a world where we are making, in the name of free choice, we are making a very dubious hope? We are telling the world that we are making them a world which is hopeful. हम आशा बेच रहे हैं, हम दुनिया को आशावादी बना रहे हैं, ठीक है, पर साथ में हम आशा बेच भी रहे हैं. कैसे? Because we are telling that अगर आप इस free market, free उद्योग, free choice capitalist regime, पूंजीवादी society के part and parcel बन जाते हैं, then आप automatically developed हो जाते हो because आपका consumer possibility and your possibility of the gross national product and gross national income and expenditure all goes up. Up automatically become like America or first world countries. Now, if that is true, then why is it that these suddenly could change name?
Sir, Francis Obama 2008 একটা ইন্টারভিউতে বলেছিল I am no more conservative. I am a pro-socialist.
Yeah, he changed his position. He changed his position, and that is 2008. He changed his position. 2008 এ চেঞ্জ করেছে, তারপর আমরা দেখছি 2010 এ আমরা post globalization and event. So from 2010 till now, that is about 15, 20, 17 years, you have the existence of a post-global kind of world, which is actually critiquing globalization. So it's a critique of globalization. So in the post-global world, what is happening? In the post-global world, we have realized that globalization told us that be a part of the market, be free, buy more, consume more, you will become developed like America. We did that for 20 years, but the hope of becoming like America did not hold. In fact, by 2010, America itself started facing, after the Great Depression, 2008, 9, 10, America faced one of the worst kind of economic recession. America started reinventing its own new domesticity. During COVID, you have heard of this term. New domesticity. Have you heard this term? COVID के time में. New domestic. What is domestic?
The internal affairs.
Internal affairs of your house. So आपके घर के अंदर जो हो रहा है, that is domestic. In COVID के time में घर के अंदर में क्या change आया? There was a gender change in terms of workspace. Men and women started sharing work burden within the house. Men also started doing some kind of work because the maids were not there during COVID lockdown 1. And that is 2020 and 21. Men started doing many of the things or work within the household, isn't it? You must have seen within your house also that your brother or your father, they also started doing something. If your mother was working and she was having online office or work from home, and your father was a little free, he would go and make some, vegetables or food, whatever. So, irrespective of gender, people were working within the house. That is referred to as new domesticity, which we saw in 2020. But America saw that in 2010. With its decline in its economy. A lot of Americans lost their jobs because of their market failures. Why it happened, how it happened, I'll come a little later. As a result of that, Americans started becoming more and more thrifty. They started knowing or understanding that saving money is essential and that you don't spend all your money. Kuch bachana chahiye. And this Punjiwali society which we are talking of in a global village, capitalist society, always tells you that you have to buy and spend money, but at the same time, there is a lot of focus on investment also. You have to save a certain section of your money for bad days to come. So, with that picture in mind, America started realizing that ordering food online, say, because American women started becoming more empowered in terms of workspace all through the 1970s, 70s, 80s. So American women were so empowered, so much in workspace, same was with American men, that cooking food in American household was something which was rare. Their kitchens would be very beautiful, but it would be very clean because nothing was cooked in that. Yes, easy to make food like ours also. Our market also. It's like today you don't need to even buy vegetables. Vegetables is sliced, diced, paratha be ready and just eat and eat it. Yeah, yes, that's right. Same thing with America. Their lifestyle is based on these kind of saving time. So cooking is a waste of time. But you can just eat and eat it. And that is the limited nature of human interface with cooking or culinary delights that American had. So given that American system was such that you could order everything. So the American fridges which were there, they would have one big fridge which would be as tall as 6 feet 7. It's like a walk-in fridge, 3-door. You have a big, freezer. Those are part and parcel of a very poor American house. Yeah, which is there in India also now. Everything is becoming globalized. We are becoming the same thing. Now, what is important in the American context is, especially in the period which I'm talking of, this period, is that work is going down, people are using more and money, and they are no longer equipped with the art of cooking also. And likewise, side by side, there is also strong desire to go back to organic, because American health systems by that time is entering into a red alert with obesity. Obesity because of inorganic food, packaged food, instant food, overeating of food, reheating of food. Because of those things, American lifestyle was also changing. Cancer, obesity, and other kind of health issues like cyst problems, polycystic cysts. Girls have this problem. All these problems were coming up. This was in 2010. So America suddenly realized that we have a bad way of life. We need to go in for a healthier kind of lifestyle. Healthier kind of lifestyle in the form of having a lifestyle based on organic, close to nature, close to wellness. They call this wellness regime. So they started experimenting with doing their organic gardens within their houses, self-gardening, buying from or eating from your own kitchen garden, etc.
The idea of yoga.
Yes, idea of yoga, everything. So those ideas started infiltrating into the American mind. So America by this time was becoming more and more organic based. It was crossing the global village model and becoming a world which is more or more like Southeast Asian countries. So America in that sense was becoming more and more Southeast Asian, whereas Southeast Asia and Asia were becoming more and more global and more like America. So with that, we saw that in the year 2010, American thinkers started talking in terms of critiquing globalization, which came in the form of neo-globalization. They said that this globalization or a new wave of globalization, new interpretation, globalization from America to Southeast Asia, which was taken, that is new globalization, was in fact a globalization which had its own faults, and that there should be something which needs to be done. And what is to be done is they have to make the global world or global lifestyle or lifestyle associated with globalization more accustomed to sustainability, more accustomed to limiting wastage. Because just see, with American lifestyle, what has happened? Most of our hotels that we have today, आज आप एयरपोर्ट में जाओ या कोई भी बड़े होटल में, when you open the tap क्या आपको छूना पड़ता है? नहीं, वो खुद ब खुद ऑन होता है, सेंसर, isn't it? So that means 1 मिनट के लिए आप बाहर रखो, आपका हाथ धोना खत्म हो जाने के बाद पानी गिरते रह रहा है. आपने ऑब्जर्व किया है?
Not always. Not 1 minute or two.
A drop of water falling in a particular spot, a study done in Calcutta, said that it was equal to wasting that much. But it runs off. And are these spaces, the hotels, the airports, are they recycling this water? Because this water is not exactly dirty water. This can be recycled. Are they recycling? Are we recycling? We've got all the flats in Calcutta. You're seeing Southeast big flats, China City in Bihala, number 1 HD in Bihala, all those flats, which is so big. The starting price of those flats starts near about at 2 crores. Now, all those flats, how many of them are designed in such a way that they are eco-friendly, they reuse solar energy, they recycle water, or have their own?
Like whatever I was hearing, like before COVID, like when we were building these new buildings, the new buildings had to have the sanction of rainwater harvesting system. And so, like while we were building the buildings, in the terrace there was this funnel kind of a structure due to which they could do rainwater harvesting.
Rainwater harvesting का भी एक किस्सा है, जो सुनाते हैं.
So even in Japan, all of which you had was
It goes for flushing. Water gets recycled, reused, and it's like regenerated so that it doesn't become waste. But in the Indian context, many times a friend of ours has said that there's a design house banana, let's say it's like 5-6 story house. Rainwater is kept here, the pipe comes here, the pipe comes down, everything good till here, okay? But this is rainwater harvesting in major part of Indian cities. Urban, rural with the border concepts out there. Instead of this pipe going underground and getting deposited to the reservoir, what happens? They just open it. It's open यहाँ खुला हुआ है. पानी आकर के यहाँ आपके कंपाउंड में रहता है. तो ये क्या हार्वेस्टिंग है? ये तो हार्वेस्टिंग नहीं, आपने सिर्फ ड्रेन का दिशा बदल दिया और वो दिशा बदल करके आपने रोड का दशा करा दिया. So that is what happens, isn't it? So most of the time, you see that all the drains, they go nice, take a straight cut. Many times if you go to Midnapur, Medinipur and all those places, you'll find that the drains are higher than the road. I don't know how the rainwater will go there when the road is high, lower and the drain is higher. Who designed it? We don't know. But then this is like excellent architecture that we have. in capacity of the interior roads. High class interior. It's like the road नीचे है, train ऊपर है. Train सूखा है, road भीगा है. I mean, what is happening? And then the drain keeps going, and suddenly the drain opens and goes directly into the ocean. So, मतलब क्या हो? I mean, पूरा का पूरा like पूरी. You see it ना? पूरा स्वच्छ पूरी करके रखा हुआ है. Literally, यहाँ मत फेंके, यहाँ करिए. बाकी, it is like जितना garbage again it goes directly to the ocean. And the ocean again doesn't want to take all these items. The ocean doesn't like all this rubbish. It again throws everything and leaves the beach. So
now I don't know, like I have not come recently, but some of my friends they have gone and they were thinking the same. I can't vouch for that because
I don't know. I went to Diga, but Diga was the same case. It was like nothing. But then the government is investing on roads, etc. And one idea was I asked the rickshaw वाले ऐसा क्यों है कि रोड नीचे है ग्रीन पर तो like नहीं सर वो रोड जो है ना हर एक साल बनता है तो बनते बनते ऊपर आ जाए so in this post global kind of world we are looking at this problem of globalization from a variety of lenses, especially from the lens of ecology or environment. Because after all, what's the point? Living in very big buildings, living in very swanky cities, having high-end kind of lifestyle, but not able to have an environment which is good enough for a future generation. So the issue of sustainability, Millennium Development Goals, all the points that they have, nothing seems to be in sync. So that means that there is a problem with the hope given by globalization. The hope is that of a false hope. The hope is that of a bridge which goes to nowhere. And the problem of globalization vis-a-vis other issues such as the pandemic tells us that no amount of development can take you free from being vulnerable to sickness or disease or a small non-entity like a virus. So if that is the case, what is the primacy? What is the priority of human life? Is it development? Is it sustainability? Is it biocentric life replacing anthropocentric life? Because anthropocentric life में क्या होता है? We are focusing only on human beings, as if world में सिर्फ humans matter, isn't it? अब तक globalization की जितनी आप परिचय मैंने आपको दिया है, इसमें can you tell me a single thing जहाँ आपको environment का नजर आ रहा है? Elephant नजर आया यहाँ, tiger सुंदरबन का, आपके city के cities also have a life. We talk as if cities में wildlife नहीं है. Cities also have a wildlife of their own. Look at the underground drainage system that we have in cities. These are filled with live rodents, cockroaches, endless number of कीड़े मकोड़े कीटाणु which we don't know. We have not seen them because they live underground. But they are part and parcel because they help sustaining the city. In fact, many of them are the reasons why we are not getting all the dirty smell now. Otherwise, cities are technically, historically speaking, very dirty spaces. Cities are never clean. If you look at the 17th to 18th century evolution of Paris as a city, or London as a city, you will find Charles Dickens' writings पढ़े हो ना? David Copperfield. When he goes to London for the first time, how does he feel? How is the road? It's dirty, it's black, coal, mining road. It's very, very dirty, it's stinky, smelling of marsh. Cities are always stinky. So cities are never good. In fact, cities and smell, stench, have got a very, very strong relation to each other. They are together. जिस तरह गांव में आप जाते हैं तो आपके गांव की मिट्टी की खुशबू आती है, गोबर का खुशबू आता है, खेती का खुशबू आता है. That is a different smell of a village, of a rural setting. Cities also have a different smell. And city smells are intolerable. I'll tell you, if you remember, there was a time when the Loha Pool from Park Street, Park Circus, that area near Lady Bramon, it used to go up and it used to go near that, tree which is there, which is modified. And Tangra at one point of time was moved out of the tanneries. Whose जगह की वो बू जो थी, it used to be so strong. Nowadays, you don't get that strong smell. Like if you go to places such as Contemporary Book Fair venue near ITC Sonar Bangla, just below that, that area used to smell. That area used to smell like dhapa. It used to smell very, very bad. It was a typical city smell of methane and all kind of pungent smells coming up because it was also dumping ground. If you go to Swabhumi today, Swabhumi is a very swampy place today, but if you go there, time and again you will get, kahin toilet chale jao, uske idhar, if you sit for a while, you will get to smell that combustion smell because Swabhumi was also made on waste. Same goes with PC Chandra, that marriage venue. If you stay for a very long time, you will get some kind of. So cities have that smell. So that kind of dirty spaces, we are not getting it directly because of the lifestyle of these animals which are there to protect us. Have we ever thought about it? No. In fact, we always believe or think that it's a very colonial mindset that if you want to show that you are a successful person or that आपके पास पैसे हैं, आप affluent हैं, तो चलो कुछ जानवर पा दो, एक कुत्ता रख लो, sophistication के लिए. And then whether or not you know how to treat the dog well, whether or not you will treat the dog, give the dog some kind of training, you will make sure that you will take the dog out for a walk. Very colonial. Those who have been to Darjeeling, obviously been to Darjeeling. You see, every morning, local people in Darjeeling would, or maybe afternoon also, कुत्ता के साथ घूमते रहते. A very colonial kind of picture. साहब लोग आए थे, कुत्ते के साथ घूमते थे. अब शायद लोग चले गए, तो जो बाकी हैं, जिनको अपना खुदबानी खाना है, वो डॉग लेके जाते हैं और उनको ट्रेनिंग करना है. Because they make the dog do potty here and there and make the park dirty. They'll never clean it. They'll never ever make sure that they take a disposable bag or maybe clean the dump which their dog has cleaned. In fact, they'll keep it there and they'll act as if उनके dog ने कुछ नहीं किया है. And then you'll see that few people जिन्होंने देखा है either कोई बुढ़ा बुढ़ी जिन्होंने नहीं देखा है, कुछ लड़कियां उनके पैर गंदा है या बच्चे ने देख बच्चा खेल रहा था बच्चा का पैर गंदा है. So you've seen that it happens in capital also. So that kind of responsibility doesn't seem to be done. So in post-global world, we are looking at multiplicity of little things. In this paper which is given, you'll be able to see these issues. And as I mentioned, with globalization and the post-global era, the rise of Twitter, internet, and virtual media that I spoke of in the other class, which is referred to as the digital democracy, people have become more and more national. Whereas globalization का वादा क्या? What was globalization's hope and promise? That the world will become one, nations and states will cease to exist, there will be no boundaries and borders, the world will become one global village. 20 साल में हम लोग क्या borders हो गए? Borders हो गए नहीं? It's still there, no border. In fact, border has become more and more powerful. We have created multiple borders now, both digital border and non-digital border. In fact, every nation across the globe is today going into a citizenship immigration regime which is trying to identify who's the movie maker, who's the local. So what exactly is happening? Why is it that globalization's messages, intentions, and ideas are living up to its expected norms? Why is it that it's becoming a failure? Why do you think? आपको क्यों लगता है कि ऐसा हो रहा है कि हालांकि ग्लोबलाइजेशन, डेमोक्रेसी और इनके दरमियान जो रिलेशन है ये एक समाज को और फ्री बनाता है और ऑटोनोमस बनाता है और सोवरेन बनाता है। इंडिविजुअल को बॉर्डरलेस वर्ल्ड का एक्सपीरियंस दिलाता है कि आप कैलकाटा में हो लेकिन फ्लोरिडा में अमेरिका का एक्सपीरियंस ले सकते। समाज बोलो, मटेरियल बोलो, कमोडिटी बोलो, एट द पुश ऑफ अ बटन आप मोबाइल चला सकते हो। With Amazon, you can bring things here and there. But at the same time, ये क्या हो गया अचानक से कि we have become more and more conscious of प्रोडक्ट कहाँ से आया है। प्रोडक्ट क्या चाइनीज था, प्रोडक्ट क्या इंडियन था, प्रोडक्ट क्या मेरा पटना का बना हुआ था कि प्रोडक्ट मोतिहारी का बना। Why is there a tendency to find out what is there as local? We understand that globalization also introduces localization or localization. And the global never remains free of the local. In fact, if you look at Kellogg's Foods, they लीजिए अपना Oats. पहले 1990s में जब Oats आया तो Oats कैसे आया? Oats का एडवर्टीजमेंट आता था, एक औरत आती थी जो वेस्टर्न कपड़े लगाती थी, फिर कोई गोरी सी मॉडल आई और वो बोल गया हेल्थ चाहिए, इंग्लिश में बात करेगी वो एडवर्टीजमेंट, एंड वो Oats का कटोरा निकालेगी, दूध रखेगी, चीनी को लेगी, देन स्ट्रॉबेरीज का फेंक वहां रखेगी। डिजाइन लुक पे बहुत यूरोपियन होगा, सादा फीका। अभी ओट्स का एडवर्टीजमेंट क्या था? मसाला ओट्स, पक्का ओट्स, कबाब ओट्स, अब क्या क्या हो रहा है उनका। हाँ, तो a देसी twist comes. That means that globalization is smart enough to accommodate whatever is there in local. But the point is, why is it that free border, free space, free territoriality, we are becoming more and more conservative? What is it that makes us conservative? Yes, Golu.
Sir, the global village concept, globalization concept, এটা চিকাগো চিলিতে যে ইমপ্লিমেন্ট করেছিল তারপর থেকে শুরু হয়েছে যে মানে মিনিমাল ইন্টারফারেন্স অফ গভর্নমেন্ট মানে ক্যাপিটালিজমের উপর, তারপর থেকে সেটা গ্লোবালি শুরু হয়েছে। কিন্তু পরবর্তীকালে যখন আমরা দেখি যে 2006 এর পর থেকে যে ইমিগ্রেশনটা চালু হলো, তখন মেরে দেওয়া হলো, এটা করানো সেটা হলো, একটা গ্লোবাল ইমিগ্রেশন চালু হলো, আর ইসলামোফোবিয়া চালু হলো সারা বিশ্বে, এবং শুরু হলো ফ্যাসিজমের উত্থান। এই ফ্যাসিজমের উত্থান এবং ফ্যাসিজম কোনোদিন কোনো ইকোনমিক সলিউশন দিতে পারেনি, তারা কালচারালি যেতে হয়েছিল। তাই এখন যে স্টেটগুলো তারা কিন্তু ক্যাপিটালিজম ফ্রি মার্কেটকে ইনভেস্ট করে যাচ্ছে, ইভেন ফ্যাসিস্ট স্টেটও ইনভেস্ট করে যাচ্ছে, কিন্তু সোশ্যালি এবং কালচারালি ওরা একটা বর্ডার স্টেটের মধ্যে থাকার চেষ্টা করছে। এটা একটা কারণ হতে পারে, কারণ গ্লোবাল ভিলেজ যে কনসেপ্ট অফ ইকোনমি,
Global village is not just a concept of economy, it's also a concept of psychology and culture. Because in culture-wise also you want to become one. There's a strong tendency, because there's a cultural, that's why we say that in cultural studies, when Arshil Afazrai, Charles Taylor and others, when they talk of culture as an identity, it also shows that your identity is no more a localized identity, and that there are variations within that identity. You don't come with one identity that I am an Indian, or I'm a Bengali, or I'm a Bihala or Swiss. You don't have that kind of identity. Your identity gets more transmuted, and that there is an age of hybridization. In this age of hybridization and multiculturalism, thinkers such as Kimbrika and Amartya Sen would say that a multicultural response is what a global village would also be. But my question, which I'm not able to answer, and which these writers are also not able to answer before, why have we become suddenly so pigeonholed in our outlook? We want people to come work in Rajarhat, but at the same time, when we see that they're not talking in Bangla, and then they're talking in Hindi. This is a biology cases. And then they're telling that, you keep talking. Bihar part, isn't it? What is it? This is. That means that you want the labor, you want the service of this skilled labor to be there, but you want it to be chupchap without being seen. Publicly, you only want the Bhadralok Bengali to be observed in this town, in the city of Calcutta. And the others, the Nepalis, the Marwadis, the others who have been contributing for 300 years, what did they do? Dance karenge? Nahin, chup ke rahenge. So that kind of work that we have is a very, very difficult work.
Maybe the countries may want to promote their version of globalization.
Possible. And this is what our friend has said. There is a thin line, but then it goes together between fascist thinking and being ultra or pro-nationalist. Because when we say local, it also means that we are sidelining or excluding many. And as I said, even in the digital space, this separation or creation of boundaries goes on and on. During your online classes, 2020 and 21, how many of you felt that the digital was very good? Online class were very good. But at the same time, what is happening is there is a connectivity issue. For my things, I cannot say because I didn't have that choice, or how could you put it? I didn't even have a choice to be free because it was like, sometimes it was like I was in Kumau taking classes for university teachers, teaching them how to do online classes because many of them need to know, or teaching such issues like globalization and this virtualization of politics because many teachers didn't even know. These are topics which people feel that ऐसा भी कोई पढ़ाई होता है, but then these are topics. These are new topics. इसमें PhD भी हो रहा है. Even you all could try your MPhil PhD in topics like Newscape, virtual. There's something called virtual ethnography. Ethnography, as you understand, you go to the field, do your survey, talk, participant observation, वो सब होता है. But COVID के time में, we have learned that there is something called virtual. You can do all these kind of finding out via the internet and via your mobile phone. You don't need to go there. They will bring the answers. You can use Google Forms for questionnaires. So you can always use that. But what we see is that digital, maybe you have digital divide. A very strong digital divide in terms of connectivity, in terms of what should be promoted. Plus, if the state says that आज हावड़ा में बहुत धंधा हो रहा है आज क्या क्रिकेट बंद करो, then imagine you are having online exam. How will it be?
2 days without internet felt like stone age.
Yeah. How will you do your exam? And you have to form fill up, you have to do so many things online. So without internet, without connectivity, it also means that you become more and more kept in a different kind of world. देखो, our life have to connect to everything. You're doing mobile recharge, you're doing your ticket connect, buying from Take My Trip, any other. Everything is digital based. That's so is there anyone who's in charge of getting things rocks for class period representative on? Who's running? Okay, can I please okay, do one thing, you just go down. So for post-globalization and neo-globalization, my earlier lecture on virtual spaces, digital democracy and new civil society, from there you have to connect both together. These are internet-based, interconnected topics. Because Because in post-globalization, you also have how politics operates. Because politics also now is based on Twitter. Let me explain it very easily. Earlier, सरकार कैसे हो? सरकार 1960s की सरकार 1950s की सरकार कैसे हो? 5 साल में आते थे, इलेक्शन करते थे, नेहरू जी दिल्ली में बैठते थे, या इंदिरा जी दिल्ली में बैठते थे। इलेक्शन के टाइम में वो आती थी, आप सबसे बहुत प्यार करती हूँ, आपका ये प्यार लेने के आई हूँ, 5 साल बाद आई है, isn't it? तो चलिए जाते। It used to happen like that. Today, after 2015, what is the kind of governments that we have? We have governments which are pro-people. The idea of the government as an ivory tower, सरकार, समाज या उसकी electoral votes से बहुत दूर है. That kind of image is today no. In fact, if a party still remains like that, like the Congress, they are trained in such a way, the Congress, that they feel that 5 साल नहीं जाना, उसके पहले नहीं जाना. हमारा क्या? तो अभी इटली में थोड़ा जाना है, ब्राजील घूमना है, थोड़ा have to have bus in the summer sun, and then come back. वो राहुल गांधी का tendency. So, but then आज की डेट पे any political party who wants to make sure that they win, they have to go and make a possible entry point in any kind of issue.
So we see all kinds of political.
And the entry point could be anything. The entry point, and this could be used both by the power, leadership in power, or the political party in power, as well as those not in power. For example, today आप काउंसिलर लेवल में देखो, चाहे वो बीजेपी है या टीएस, कैंडिडेट हारा या जीता, you will see that they will try to do their own. If they are doing Netaji celebration, if TMC is doing it, बीजेपी भी अपना अकाउंट, बीजेपी का ये जो काउंसिल का जो कैंडिडेट था, वो भी अपना नेताजी सेलिब्रेट करता है, अलग अलग। एंड इलेक्शन के बाद जब आप वोट दे के रूम से निकलते हो पोलिंग बूथ में, तो in most of the slum areas, we have over 10 plus number of slum areas. So and most of the voting banks vote. So on one game you have the BJP giving this one biryani. The other side you have the TMC giving aloo much. And the Ganda Janardhan is taking packets from everywhere because उनको क्या लगता So the Sarkar is any government, any party works on visibility. With Twitter and social media in your hand, visibility matters. In fact, the line of the bureaucracy which used to be there, that today Navanda ने कुछ decide किया और ये जाएगा DPI के पास, DPI से आएगा higher education के बाद VC के पास जाएगा, VC के थ्रू head of department के थ्रू individual departments पे notice circulate किया जाएगा. मतलब एक सर्कुलर आते आते आपको हफ्ता भर लग जाता है. आजकल क्या होता है, नवंबर से दीदी डिसाइड करके नहीं निकली है, सर्कुलर में मोहर नहीं लगा है, पर आपके पास व्हाट्सएप मैसेज आ चुकी है. So that means that information and data leak also goes side by side. And there is a data breach going. We're not bothered about it. So in this kind of world, which is very, very fast and very informative, sometimes it is over-informative. It gives you information which you don't need.
Yesterday there was a news even today also. And memes are coming out.
At least somebody will go and take a photo with the So what is happening is, in this politics that we have now, the government is more interested in giving information to the people. Why? And all this information comes from government. So Modi does a meeting with BRICS and he gives his information card summation in future. I congratulate all the BRICS members. We decided this future. And then every monthly, whether they know how to use the internet or not, they have a Twitter handle. Isn't it? And you have to follow them also.
It's a true taste.
Yeah.
And
You
very
have to follow them. You have to follow them, and then you have to, they give you all kind of things, bites, which is very unnecessary. So now it is not just Ware Sarkar. It is Janmay Sarkar, Pachile Sarkar, it is Mobile Sarkar. Now it is like in your mobile, so anything can happen. Anything can happen. I remember I was traveling from Siliguri to Calcutta on a train recently, 8.9, and the train met with a small accident. And one of the trains stood there for about 8 घंटा because some old lady got hit, police case. So it took a long time. So one of the passengers, he started, railway mantri ka naam kya hai mantri ka ye? He wanted to hashtag, do some kind of connection with the mantri. So he wanted to do some kind of connectivity with the mantri, complain about why the train in a particular non-district area from Malda between Siliguri to Calcutta is stuck for more than 1 hour. So in a world where we are looking at connectivity in such a way that whatever happens, we will complain to the nearest powerful person. It also shows that we are living in a world where we want to show power. And power from being powerful, because you can use the mobile in a particular way where others may not be able to use it. Because the internet and internet-based information is largely English. Endless number of documents. Today we say that online education is also about massive mass organization of information, which is referred to as online classes or online materials, which comes in the form of MOOCs. You know MOOCs, no? Jano ki jano na? Jano. It is the only thing Korea. Internet-based e-Gyan Kosh, jano? All these internet repositories that we have for thesis, for information dissemination. MOOCs is also one of the popular ones. These are videos, these are classes which are audio recorded, video recorded, done by experts on any given topic. And you can be from any part of the world, you can access them, learn about it, and get information. Anybody can do it. It is a part and parcel of your CBCS program, isn't it? You don't need to be from Asian studies student, you can be from political science, but you can take one chapter or one topic or one unit in one particular department. So you may not be in science, but you can also have the possibility of having one CBCS course in science department. Yes, this whole idea of a knowledge society, knowledge system, wherein people are not bound down by boundaries, because Global Village also calls in terms of knowledge dissemination. Free knowledge, subcule knowledge. But that is also a failure in many senses, because we don't see that kind of usage. You all are in your first year of your masters. Many of you do not know MOOCs. Imagine. And this is there for quite some time now. It's not completely. E-libraries. Kharagpur libraries, yes. You don't need to go to the library. You can use the e-library resources. You can use Columbia University's or Pennsylvania University's library. So many libraries. You can use it. All kind of information. But again, is this really a free world which is given to us? Given that all these MOOCs, all these free libraries, all this information that we have, online learning, we have got distance education from Oxford and all, isn't it? Wherein you can do all this, what's it called? University,
Upgrade, sir.
Upgrades, all of these. Do you really think it's free? How free is it?
Sir,
You have to pay a lot of money for it, one. Number two, most of them and their resources cannot be accessed by non-English speaking people. That means that you throw out half the world network.
So even the apps we are using or the internet, any sites we are using, we are giving our email address and password.
Yes.
There also we are giving our indirect, our details.
Yeah.
So they are getting connected. They get our details.
Yes, they get your details. Now, what's your name?
Anisha.
So, Anisha, what is important out here is that, and I thank you for this, I missed out on this point. During this virtual Andolan kind of thing, there is a phase also when CAA protests come up, and there is a stage Kagaj nahi dikhayenge. The problem is, आप कागज मत दिखाइए, आधार मत दिखाइए, पैन कार्ड मत दिखाइए, बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट मत दिखाइए, कुछ ही मत दिखाइए, कुछ ही मत दिखाइए। पर आपने जितना डेटा फेसबुक को दिया है, जितना डेटा आपने डेटिंग साइट टिंडर को दिया है या ग्राइंडर को दिया है, सब दे चुका है। गवर्नमेंट को चाहिए ना डेटा दीजिए। There is nothing. In a world where you are in a digitalized space, and the moment you say you are in social media, you are using the mobile for everyday activity. Please believe me, there is no private life at all.
The artificial intelligence also tracks us.
Yes, artificial intelligence tracks you so badly that each month Google tells you that last April you went to 17 shops, you bought 2 cars, you bought 20 clothes, your credit card bounced because you didn't pay it, you cancelled your flight ticket. So Google gives you all those information and tells you that the amount of distance that you traveled in all this is equal to half the moon or maybe 1/3 going to the moon. Gives you that kind of. So in a world where you're already living in a space where everything is already under control of vigilance of the computer, then it's very difficult because they're no longer free. So those of us who have watched Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's movie, this is 1998 or maybe 2000 year movie, Gattaca. If you watch Gattaca, then you will understand what exactly is the problem with this technology invested, artificial intelligence based, biometric, organized kind of policies. So try and watch this movie. Gattaca. It's Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman. Sure. I think with that, I'll put it on board.